Ready now. Hello. So here in front of you, you have myself, Heather,
And I'm Sam.
and two bottles of wine. Welcome.
Welcome back to the episode of Wind Down Wednesday. We're still figuring out this intro thing. But today we are talking about not really how we wind down, but why it's a good thing to wind down. And we're going to dive into that a little bit after we get these wines poured up. Okay, so now we got our wines poured up. Let's chat about why it's important to wind down. So this is something really big for you because
Yes.
of
I work in
essentially
a
what you do.
more stressful environment in the emergency department. So anyone who also works in healthcare knows that you see everything and things that you didn't even know you could see. I feel like that's all I'm going to say. Anyways, having time away from the craziness that's intentional where you can relax is then really important.
So there's two sides to this. One is having time to relax and decompress, and the other is having time to wind down. Having that decompression time is something that obviously is really good because if you're constantly going, even if you take the time to wind down at the end of a stressful day, you're still going to tire yourself out. And if you
Again,
don't take that time to actually decompress, you're going to end up running into burnout, just mental fatigue. You're probably going to end up getting sick. There's going to be so many different things that are going to happen physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Everything is going to start to fall apart if you don't decompress. But we're not talking about too much about the decompression right now. We're talking about the kind of daily wind down that you can do. So, again, why this is important, because if you, say, in Heather's case, she comes home from work and she just dealt with a ton of stress from the patients, stress from like management, stress from just everything. If you have relatives or you yourself are in healthcare, you guys know how crazy it gets.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, arguably almost any job where you are in a service-based industry, like you deal with a lot. You know, there's a lot of anger out there in the world, and unfortunately, people kind of throw that a lot at like systems, and then you as the individual kind of receive that anger and, you know, hostility.
Yeah.
And it's, you don't want to bring that home. I never want to. I think sometimes you see people who've worked in those environments for so long and like, it's like kind of two ways. Like one is like they've been able to process everything they've gone through and they're, still a person, still kind. And the other person is where they just have taken it all in and then they kind of give that energy back. The negative energy. It's like they start reflecting it because that's what you're exposed to so often. My goal is to just you can't absorb it. Just let go.
So being able to have that time where essentially you are, if you think about yourself basically as a little wind-up toy. So while you're at work, things are happening, life is happening, stress is happening, kids are happening, coworkers are happening, whatever it may be, life is happening. And life is very stressful, especially just like in this day and age. Life is very stressful. We see a lot of life on the internet and it can get to you and it can be very stressful and just slowly winds you up, winds you up, winds you up, winds you up. And if you just decide, I'm going to go to bed right when I get home, one, you might not be able to fall asleep right away because your brain is still processing everything. And two, a lot of our processing of our day does happen while we're asleep. So if you just go lay down and you do eventually fall asleep, your brain's still going to be processing all of these things and you might not feel super relaxed and super rested the next morning. So it's good to have that time where you unwind yourself or wind down. It's a really good thing to be able to do because it's going to help you in so many different ways. And it's not just good to do it on the midweek. The reason we like to release these on midweek is because Wednesdays usually suck for most people because you guys are like, we made it halfway through the week. It's almost done. We still got more time unless you're Heather over here. It's almost 12s, or 10. Sorry.
Yeah, it's 10-hour days, 7 days in a row.
Yeah. So having that time where you can intentionally unwind yourself is going to do you wonders in the long run. And depending on what you necessarily need, it's going to depend on how you wind down. We did a video on that before, and we talked about how we wind down in different ways. Whether it's going to be processing it with someone, it's going to be having a glass of wine, taking a bubble bath, smoking a cigar and having a little glass of whiskey, going for a run, lifting, whatever it is.
I like artistic things. They help me relax.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways.
Get a little energy out.
There's a lot of different ways you can wind down, but just making sure you actually take the time. Because
and finding whatever, actually makes you feel good. I think I always heard someone being like, you should journal. And I felt like the act of journaling made me somehow more stressed sometimes because I was like, I don't know, holding on to things that happen instead of somehow letting it go.
But with that, you found what works for you. But you've also noticed when you come home, you'll have to take that time because if you don't, what happens?
I just don't sleep as well, or I don't know. Just feel off kilter.
In my role and what I do, I'm able to basically take more time to try to unwind myself. But at the same time, since I don't leave my work environment, I work from home.
I'm always impressed actually by your boundaries with working from home.
Yeah.
I know I was in my graduate school during the period of COVID, and it was really difficult for me to be in the same place where I, was working and attending classes and also living. It was really hard for me to have any sort of balance. And I'm impressed where you have, or the routine you follow of these are working hours, these are non-working hours. You do that.
It's because I got the intentionality of I have to actually wind down.
Yes.
So what I got in the routine of is okay, I'm done with work. And I'm okay, I'm going to go do these things so that I can separate myself from work. You guys are not your jobs. You're not all of the stress of life. So when you are stepping away from that, you need to take that time to wind down. And if you're not, you're probably noticing all those fatigues that I was talking about. But I'd really recommend at least starting to try to find some way of doing it and trying to establish a routine, even if it's 30 minutes before you go to bed, 40 minutes before you go to bed, an hour before you go to bed, whatever it is, try to establish that. One of the really good things, you'll see studies on this all the time about not having screen time 30 minutes before bed.
I'm kind of bad at that.
Most of us are really bad at that. But just having some sort of a routine where you're okay, now I'm going to do A, B, and C, and then I'm going to go to bed. It's going to help your body start to figure out what it has to do. And it's just going to start to help you feel a little bit better.
Yeah, they call it sleep hygiene.
It's a good thing.
The term sleep hygiene just sounds weird, but when you actually look it up, there's normally pretty good recommendations.
So with all that in mind, I hope you guys are winding down with us this Wednesday. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we will see you on Friday. Cheers.
Cheers.